All right, thank you everybody for joining this town hall with a SFMTA board nominee, Lydia So, presented in coordination with three orgs, WalkSF, SF Bike Coalition, and SF Transit Riders. It's really exciting to have members from all our organizations here together and have this chance to speak with a nominee for the SFMTA board. So thank you all for coming. Before we get started, I just wanted to go over some ground rules and a little bit of information for you all. First, I want to just encourage everybody to turn on your video if possible, so that we're not just speaking into a void. Just so you know, the event is being recorded. We will be planning on posting it online afterwards. So if you're not comfortable with that, feel free to turn your video off. But if you're able to have it on, would be greatly appreciated. The way that it's going to go tonight is we're going to start off with some questions prepared by WalkSF, SF Bike Coalition, and SF Transit Riders. Then we'll move into an audience Q&A. We'll be accepting questions for the audience Q&A throughout the entire meeting. If you have a question for nominee So at any time, send it to via the meeting chat, DM Cyrus Hall. He'll be working behind the scenes to prioritize and elevate as many questions as possible. So Cyrus Hall is the one you want to DM with your questions in the meeting chat. If your name isn't obvious from your handle on Zoom, please include that with your question. And if you represent an organization or a member of one of the three host organizations, please feel free to mention that as well. We'll be working to prioritize questions that address issues within the scope of SFMTA board members. So that includes questions that address policy, oversight, priorities, and process. And we'll also prioritize questions that would be broadly interesting to the entire audience. So to keep your question accessible to everybody, try to avoid overly specialized jargon. And also, we don't expect issues from this group, but just a reminder to please keep things constructive and family friendly. In a little bit, Janelle Wong, Executive Director of the SF Bike Coalition, will step in to co-MC with me and ask some questions. But for now, it's time to introduce SFMTA Board nominee, Lydia So. Last month, Lydia, a recent Historic Preservation Commissioner and Portsmouth Square board member, was nominated to the SFMTA Board of Directors by Mayor London Breed. An advocate for cultural equity and sustainable urban growth, Lydia previously served on the Arts Commission, where she provided a vision for city planning, improved design quality of city-owned properties, and regulated the 1% for Art program. As liaison to the Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development, Lydia supported affordable housing production for all San Franciscans. Prior to founding her own architecture firm in 2015 to improve the living environments and cultural equities of families and business owners in the Bay Area, Lydia managed Apple retail real estate in North America. Lydia was the first AAPI woman architect, promoted to associate at Skidmore, Owings & Merrill, honing her design skills while trailblazing the technical aspects of architecture and engineering practice. Lydia's practice has had positive impacts on regional urban growth, transit-oriented development, and sustainability. Her global experience includes working on the design of some of the world's tallest buildings, the most advanced life science buildings, and the world's first all-glass spiral staircase. Lydia lives in San Francisco with her family and has been a longtime resident of the Mission neighborhood. She's Chinese American and fluent in English and Cantonese. And her favorite Muni line is the T 3rd Street, and she most frequently rides the 22 Fillmore, the 49 Van Ness Mission, and anything going up and down Market Street. Lydia, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Before we dive into questions, I wanted to give you a few minutes to introduce yourself and tell us why you're passionate about transportation.
Thank you, Dylan. This is like really amazing introduction, and thank you for joining us here tonight. That's the best way to spend our Friday for a happy hour, and I really appreciate all of you listening. I love placemaking. As a trained architect now, I practice architecture as a licensed architect for now 24 years. I live in the mission now for 15 years, and in San Francisco overall, like 24 years. I just love that one day we can be able to walk out of the street. The moment we stepped out of our house to get to where we are, get on the bus, get on the cable car, or get on the Muni light rail, and then get off and to get to where we wanted to go. And we feel that sense of belonging and safe. And that's one of the main reason, the public safety and accessibility is my key passion to take on this new challenge. And I have a really good track record of keep building bridges and get things done in city governance. And I would love to continue to have that as my style of leading, to stand right by my community and get things really done to help our community. I grew up in Hong Kong. I remember my grandmother loves to cook 3 meals a day, and it's always have to be the freshest thing. So I would go with her to street markets almost like 3 times. And we take these buses and minivans, and it's the most convenient way to go about town. And when I was a little older in high school years, and I remember meeting all my friends on very specific second car stop on platform 1 in Causeway Bay Station, which is the MTR, kind of like an equivalent of Muni line. And then we meet my high school friends and then started to figure out, should we eat some snack first or should we go get movies? And that was something so empowering to me as an experience that I would love to have my child to have the ability to have that as an option for her to grow up. And she's now in middle school, and she was born in the Mission. We raised her in the Mission, and we always do multimodal transportation. We walk to school. Sometimes we do our manual scooter to school, and over the off school hours, we will get on the bike or just walk to the park and get our groceries done. And the experience it's kind of went up and down, and during the pandemic we all kind of experienced what it was, and that's kind of propelled me to have a much more stronger desire to, like, I really wanted to be part of the solution, to help to voice for our community and actually collaboratively make tangible issues that we can solve. There's a policy here, and I'm really no stranger on reading through between the lines of policy, but then also when the rubber hits the road, we need real solution that actually engaged and culturally appropriate to different districts and different communities. So I just love to continue to make our city a better environment for our next generations. It's always like, what is it going to be like for my daughter when she become a mother of herself? So I'm happy to be here to answer any questions you have.
Thank you so much, Lydia. I appreciate this. I'm going to just briefly introduce myself in case people didn't see the name. Janelle Wong, and I'm going to be co-emceeing tonight. Thank you, Lydia, for your comments. It's good to hear that a lot of your comments are close to a lot of the goals I think a lot of the leaders of the organizations have, as well as many of our members. So we're going to get started with a couple questions just to begin with. The first 2 will be from the Bicycle Coalition specifically, and then the next 2 will be from WalkSF. So I will ask the first question. Now that Slow Streets program is permanent, what's the best way for us to expand it? Well, actually, there's two parts of this, sorry. And how can Slow Streets best serve the needs of all San Franciscans community, or all San Francisco communities?
Okay. Thank you, Janelle, for this question. So Slow Streets, it's a very good approach to help to enable all the San Franciscan residents to have a way of belonging, especially during the pandemic where everything shut down and we were literally told to be shelter in place. You're not allowed to get out unless you have to go out and really get food, or actually not even getting food, right, if you really need to see a doctor. So having slow street and enable a better environment for community to get together, and also create, when you shape, I really believe when you shape the design of a space and you cultivate a deliberate expectation of human behavior, that's kind of like an architect talking. So form, follow, function, I guess that's what everyone is really familiar with that phrase. So when we pick streets to slow down, it really is telling everyone on foot, on 2 wheels and 4 wheels and anything in between, pay attention, slow down, right? And during the pandemic, it was almost like a kind of case to case basis, and each neighborhood and each supervisor's districts kind of pick 1 street or 2, and then they just kind of keep adding on. And I think we are getting to the point where we can see a pattern, or we can generate a better understanding of what works and what doesn't work. And I am looking forward to see there is a active community plan coming out. I believe it's early next year. We can look at in a much bigger scale. I always think of urban planning. You look at the whole city from a macro standpoint of what are we trying to achieve? And then you dive back into a micro standpoint, and then you start to connect these dots. And what I like to see is safety is not just within 1 block. Safety needs to be having a purpose to really get us from 1 corner of San Francisco to the other corner of San Francisco. And it should be culturally appropriate. And also we need to have that vision. So then we have a roadmap, almost like a master plan. In my background of approach in urban planning and policy, for like where we will have downtown and where we will have a mixed use zoned, or where we will have a retail zone. So that's kind of similarly, I would love to look at what type of result that we have been observed and seeing in these past recent years, and work with all 3 of your organization to really look at what your thoughts about that too, what's working, what's not, and where can we do better and more efficient.
I just have a follow-up question, because it's really important, I think, to I think all the organizations, but also like you spoke about culturally appropriate materials and information. Can you just expand on in your mind, what does that mean, and how can organizations like ourselves do that work better? If you have an opinion about that, that's great.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. When I say these words, it is not just buzzword. In my capacity as a commissioner, but also I was invited to be selected to be one of the advisor on the committee for San Francisco Monuments and Memorial. It was leading into the pandemic. This committee was formed by collaboration with our mayor's office and the Human Rights Commission, Arts Commission, and Park and Rec, really looking at what are we doing to establish guidelines to look at each of these public monuments that are owned by the city. So there were 220 of them. And we have monthly meetings, and we heard so many, my fellow committee members and also other public people get involved. And at the end of the day, we wanted to reach out to different community to get feedback. So if you've seen some of these pamphlet or flyer, it is through SurveyMonkey, and we deliberately ask to create a Chinese translated pamphlet, and also in Spanish, and also in Vietnamese and Tagalog. Our experience is that there's no one size fits all approach. Each community they respond to different types of media outreach differently. So when I say culturally appropriate, is that basically do not assume everyone has a phone. Do not assume everyone feel comfortable they can access to a computer and have a few click and they're done with their SurveyMonkey and we got those results. We really need to go and reach out to different communities, and with probably lots of help with collaboration with the community organizer or some of these like YMCA and a couple other similar type of youth program that really host coffee, breakfast, donut, meat, and for Chinese in Chinatown will be dim sum or Chinese pastries. Really, it's like getting the word out and actually using their culturally appropriate way to approach them, so then they felt like they're trusted and their voice are being heard. And so that was to me, a very eye-opening result that we get, that we can take and learn from it. And I take that experience and I share that with my planning staff, because in a similar time in the planning department, in the Historic Preservation Commission department, we are doing a citywide survey, because we thought, well, it's always like very opinionated about what is historically resourceful and what is not. And it is only fair to have a baseline approach. And the only way to get there is to have the planning department having a trained group of planners to go out and reach out to the community and actually document oral histories and talked about people's memory about what this place is, and then come up with all these data, and then they go through a few rounds of process and turn it into like a living dialogue. So it is an ongoing feedback loop. So it's not like, well, when we done one outreach, then we're done, check the boxes. No, we can't do that, because what I am really aware of as a historic preservation commissioner in the planning department, that when people show up and voice their opinion, they're not the only one that should be showing up, but they're the one that have the time and have the resources that they can cut out, don't need to work or take a break from work at the most inconvenient time at 1 p.m. on Wednesday to line up to talk. But then what about the other ones? What about the single mom that has 3 jobs that really she can't really lose any of her job, and she really cannot be saying, I have to go and wait in line and call City Hall and talk about this. Her concern matters for me too. So I will take that. It's my experience, not my ideological thinking. That's actually my approach when I challenged some of my really wonderful planners. We all love each other. They actually really do love me. It's like, really, can you really go and reach out to these folks? And also sometimes I told them that the Arts Commission is so connected with artists, and artists are our local canary in our coal mine. When there's a risk to basically displace them, they're the first one who got hit, because they will be like, we lost our studio, we can't pay the rent, and then now we have to move out, So I asked my planning staff actually to work with the Arts Commission staff to actually tap into local community, and in those world, there are similar organizations like the Bicycle Coalition, like the WalkSF, and also SF Transit Rider, that I can just kind of give them a phone call and just say, hey, heads up, we have this going on, and what's your thought about it? And do you know if someone we should be, can you help us organize or schedule a time or help us blast something out that we wanted to get feedback, it's always a very welcome space. So culturally appropriate is respectful for everyone, not just your color of what you look like, but it's also who and what you identify yourself as. In San Francisco is very important to me. We continue to be really proud to be San Francisco, and really proud to have Castro it's a international landmark in that regard.
Thank you so much. It actually leads very well into the next question that we have. So the city, as you know, has very ambitious goals of 80% sustainable modes of travel by 2030. So a mode shift, a change from mostly an indicator of private vehicles to some other form of transportation. How will you support and encourage equity priority communities, which has been a challenge for us, to do those mode shifts to either public transit, walking, or even active transportation and micromobility?
Right. It's a really good question. It is multifaceted, and I would love to, basically, there's a lot of optics and perceptions, and we need to bring people to be more open, to have a dialogue, to understand these visions and goals, even though they're really busy. And those are the demographics that actually going to be having most benefit of, if we can achieve that goal. And but also, they're also really so busy that they really don't have the time or bandwidth to even have a way to want to listen, right? So for me, I would love to understand better of how, once I get into MTA, would talk to the staff to really understand what have they been, what kind of a roadmap they had been doing, and then where we should do more and better to really engage these very systematically, historically marginalized communities and neighborhood. And also looking at in our capital budget and plan of increased efficiency on some of these transit line. I would love to see where is the prioritization, because you have to, when you convince somebody, you need to show them that they can really rely on something to really get from point A to point B efficiently. So we have to not just, just talking, we just really have to get something done. And we need to, I am waiting to get to know more about where we should prioritize. And it's all in my heart. Like I am an immigrant. I know that so many of them just remind me of my grandmother and my mom, and a lot of my friends are also not really well off. They were just trying to raise our kid the best we can, and we love San Francisco because it has a lot of great stewardship to many things, and that's something that I'm really proud of, and I will look forward to continue that. And as I learn more about how the inner workings are and work and hear all your feedbacks from all three of your organizations, and we can come up with a more prioritization on it's all have to be all kind of working together in sync. I don't want to have anyone left behind. So yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. The next two questions are from WalkSF. So I just want to make that clear. So what do you think the city can do to help more people feel safe, comfortable, and joyful walking in San Francisco?
Yeah, I was thinking that when I have some really good conversation with WalkSF leadership, and one of the things that I always brought up is that when you shape the street, with different amenities, then you are presenting a perception of how you should behave in that street. Like if you walk into a historic town, you knew where is this main street was, right? Because they start paving the road in bricks, and they have these planters and really beautiful ornate lanterns, and they have little benches for people to sit down. And even the crosswalk, they will, if they cannot pave it in brick, because it actually might not be really safe when you pave the road with bricks for bicycle and anything on wheels, you might get stuck there. So they were striped it, differently. And so I like to see that if we can have a vision of where these slower traffic and deliberately to be a safe space for multimodal transportation, these things that link each neighborhood and district together, so then we can get from Bayview all the way to Outer Richmond. We need to do these landscape or streetscape design. It doesn't cost a lot, I believe, that just some nice artful paint job that could go a long way. and then lighting. A few of these elements that we can do to as an architect now, I'm speaking again, and also a land use consultant, the really best way that is a passive way to make the space feel safe, that deter behaviors that we don't want to see and we don't encourage or allow, is to have strategic lighting in place. So then when you increase visibility, but not like blasting bright light on everyone, you start to see that safety, you feel safer. I think everybody might feel safer when there's like string lights along many of these business merchants corridor that we've been adding on. And it's just having that space of belonging, that everyone is welcome. And the design of the streets, I am very familiar with reading blueprints and engineering prints and sidewalk grading. I know those things on the back of my head as a very nerdy architect, and also have to do a lot of retail storefronts. So I am really aware of how we need to create a very safe and also accessible sidewalk and to places. And it's also sidewalk curb cuts to the road, and then get back on the curb cut, and then go on the sidewalk again. So that whole experience, I would love to continue to look at when I'm on the MTA board, and when staff make proposal of how to mitigate or have to do whatever proposal to change the streets, I will really look carefully into all these aspects that I just mentioned.
That's great. Thank you so much for that answer. So here's the next question. What does Vision Zero mean to you? It's multifaceted, so hold on. And because streets with the highest crash rates are concentrated in equity priority neighborhoods, how will you work to prioritize Vision Zero in these particular communities?
Well, Vision Zero, I am on board from day one. I remember as an arts commissioner, we have to review all the public-owned projects. So that's including DPW, SFMTA, Rec and Park, and SFO, the airport. So when the team of MTA and DPW show up and presented the Better Market Street project, and the reason why it needs to happen, it's because we need to achieve Vision Zero. And I'm all on board with that. My jurisdiction, unfortunately, back then, it was just about the aesthetic and also practicality, right? Because I was the architect as well on the Arts Commission. So I was just like, I am all full supportive of that from day one, until I asked them, what can we do to streamline the review and approval process so you can go faster? Because this is a lot of agency try to work together, and also with a lot of collaboration with, I remember it was a bicycle coalition on like the continuity of the bike lane and where it would have these no left turn on cars to make sure that we have a safer cross roads, not just for pedestrians, but for bicyclists. And now we have other like the scooters and other people's choice of I don't want to call them, like it's just like other than cars, right? There's just like so many of them. I can't use with all the technology. So how do I prioritize which districts with what you mentioned about the with these communities that are disadvantaged? It's a very good question. We have to look at where well, first I need to understand where things are first with the staff, if they have a plan mapped out. And then I really need to look at where are the most injuries occurred. It's unfortunate. I think that we all knew we're not going to achieve Mission Zero next year, but that doesn't. But we are really sure that we're not forgetting about that goal. To save life, to me, is very important. Public safety is my #1 priority. I want everyone to not to have to worry about if my loved one will be back home for dinner. Just on the everyday, I want them all don't have to worry about like, well, it's my mom, or if it's my child's gonna show up, make it back home because he or she is on the road and on the bike or on the bus. How do I prioritize it is a really good question. I think I will look forward to your input on what you see is working or not working, and really looking at these numbers of what is the fatality number of frequency, and what is the schedule in MTA of are they having each project kind of tee up in tandem, or they're actually deploying the improvement plan on multiple districts all together in the same time. I would love to get to talk to those engineers and planners to really understand what is your sequencing, how do we get it to work and do it faster, so then we can really save more lives in a shorter period of time.
Very good. Yeah, thank you so much for that. I just want to make sure we're good on time with Dylan. I just want to make sure we're still good on time in terms of okay, perfect. Those are all really great questions. And in terms of just like Vision Zero, it's I know that all three organizations feel very deeply in supporting the goals of that particular program. And we hope that the city will continue to prioritize it. Obviously, I know MTA does, and MTA staff with every project that is rolled out with regards to either pedestrian improvements or bicycle improvements. That is always part of the discussion. So we look forward to hearing just working together potentially in the future to see how we can help the city achieve that very important goal. Okay, so I think I'm going to hand it off now to Dylan. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. It was a pleasure to hear you. I will be back. I'm still here, but we have a few more questions for you. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Janelle. And the next couple of questions are from San Francisco Transit Riders. And then after that, we'll start going to audience questions. So I just wanted to remind everybody, if you weren't here when I talked about it earlier, you can just submit your question in chat. Just DM Cyrus Hall. Cyrus is going behind the scenes sorting through all the questions, and will help elevate those when it's time for audience questions. So go ahead, feel free, drop your questions as they come up, and we'll get to them shortly. But first, Lydia, I wanted to ask you about the city's transit first policy, and specifically, what does transit first mean to you, and how will you leverage your personal and professional experience to advance that vision as an SFMTA board member?
Thank you, Dylan. I love transit first. It's it's inevitable. We have to do that. It's better for the environment. It's also for a lot of many things for equity issues and accessibility, that we don't have a certain we enabling people to have multiple choices any given time of their life, that they can empower to know that, okay, today I need to go here, I hop on the bus and then I'm there. Or tomorrow, well, I have to see my dentist over there, and then I have to go to another meeting in the other side. So it's best for me to ride my bike and then get on the T line and then go to have my meeting. So I would love to see that we have a very efficient transit system that really can be reliable, kind of like Japan. I do a lot of work in Japan. It was like their stuff is just right on the second. So it's kind of like you just kind of tell yourself that you really cannot be late when you buy those tickets. And like you just have to be there. You have to, if you're on time, you're already late. So I really wanted to see that in San Francisco, we will have that type of efficiency, that we can bestow trust in public. So then riding buses and trains, and it is sometimes a regional issue, because then a lot of us, you pick BART or Muni too when you are, depending on where you need to go and where the traffic pattern and condition is, you will have to pick, improvise, right? But I wanted to actually have people to feel that's so reliable and so safe, and it's so awesome that they might start picking, just like what I did when I was in high school. It's just like, hey, let's meet up at the Dolores Park J line stop and let's have a date there, and then maybe if things go well, we'll take the T line and go have fortune cookie in Chinatown and have a nice cocktail, and then go around to Chase Center and watch the free basketball show out there, because they have this giant screen, So I would love to see that. To me, it will be, that's what transit first mean. Like, we just live like San Franciscan, and then we have our life wherever we want to go. And even our reference point of meetup and landmark, it's on these transit nodes. Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you. And there's been a lot of talk recently about SFMTA's upcoming fiscal cliff, and we know we can't really thrive as a transit agency without addressing some of that financial deficit that is kind of looming over there in the next couple of years. We know it threatens to cut transit service, and we've heard that there are potentials for fare increases for Muni riders. We know that transit fares are regressive and disproportionately hurt low-income riders, who make up a big portion of the people who ride Muni. And often they rely on public transit the most as well. So I wanted to ask, do you believe fare increases play a role in addressing the fiscal cliff? And if so, can you address those equity implications? And if not, what other funding sources would you look to implement?
I think this is a very delicate topic, and thank you for asking. I would first look at what we have right now, what is happening to us. Again, like what is our baseline model? I think there's a lot of perceptions of, well, fiscal cliff it's real, okay. So what I'm talking about is like ridership in terms of how when we have these when people who ride Muni, how many percentage of them are qualified for subsidized fare, and then how many percentage of them are required to pay full fare and they're paying. And I would love to see these numbers. I would love to continue to request for us to conduct some study on what's going on right now before increasing any fares to anyone. I personally believe that when someone have the means and resources, they will do their part. It's not really try to take advantage of anyone or anything. But when we have this very tragic pandemic, and then now it's July, and so it's over half a year we've been hearing this news about raising interest rate. It's really unsettling. So for me, is to about what can we do to regain and bestow more trust in our ridership. And a lot of this lines are people's lifeline, lines meaning bus line. They really cannot live their life or even go to actually do work and get pay had we not have these Muni lines that we have. So I would love to look at other revenue generating resources. I am open to join your brain power Thursday night to think about what we can creatively come up with these revenues. I'm really I have my left brain and right brain. You know, I'm a designer, and I'm also pretty nerdy in the engineering side. So I am putting in the position where in my previous work experience, I am pushing the boundary with design creative thinking to think out of the box and to achieve some more revenue. So I would love to, I don't have a roadmap to tell you, I wish I do, but if I can get myself really dial in and get to know more of the staff and how each of our properties, our asset, like the MTA has a lot of real estate, and I am looking forward to come up with something. We're kind of already there. Maybe we can find something more innovative in our revenue generating aspect of it. We are in my previous experience in the Historic Preservation Commission and also Arts Commission, I had overseen a few mixed-use real estate redevelopment project that is utilizing SFMTA's property asset to convert it and add housing on top of a bus barn and affordable housing. So the Patrol bus barn actually is pretty amazing that we're going to have about, don't quote me if I think the number is moving a little bit, roughly around 200,000 unit, and that the bus barn will still be functional and operational. And that would be somewhere I would look forward to think about what we can do. And I look forward to having all your brain powers to cultivate more strategies and idea that is readily deployable, that we can generate some more of those revenues before looking at increasing the fares from Muni.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much, Lydia. It's great to hear that you're, aware and sensitive to some of these equity implications, and also interested in working with us and our members to find some of those kind of creative uses for, or creative sources of revenue. I think that's something that we're, me and all of our members, a lot of our members would certainly be excited to work with you on. So moving into some of the questions from our audience, I wanted to start with a couple questions that we got from people as they were registering. Then we'll move on to some of those comments that were submitted during the call. And again, just a reminder, if you've just joined, please DM your questions to Cyrus Hall in the meeting chat, and he will be prioritizing them all. There he is, waving. Yeah, please ask away. Any question is certainly welcome, and we'll be screening those and bringing them to Lydia. So first question from the audience comes from Trish Gump, who is here in the call. She is a member of the SF Bike Coalition as well as WalkSF. Trish asks, what is your long-term vision for how San Franciscans should travel within the city?
My long-term vision is that we all empower with options. And it's a real thing where I believe like every one of us at different times of our age and different needs change, right? So for me, it's a multimodal transit-oriented city is where I would love to see San Francisco becoming. That is, everyone is empowered to have few options to go about with their life. Seniors have a dignity to live independently because they're empowered to be safe and out there and get on a bus, or if they need to call for a cab, and they're there for them. And for my kids and our kids, or my kids' kids, I would love that they can just hop on the bus and they don't have to make many more transfers and wait to get to school. So again, I really love to have a well-balanced that people can have choice and option and feel safe by doing that.
Great, thank you. And a second question from the audience. This one comes from Sarah Greenwald, who's a member of SF Transit Riders. Public transit is a crucial means for reducing our carbon emissions rapidly. How can Muni grow rapidly to help? Sorry, did that come through? I can repeat that.
Yeah, please. It went mute.
Oh, sorry about that. Yes, yeah. So this next question comes from Sarah Greenwald, who is also in the call today and a member of San Francisco Transit Riders. Public transit is a crucial means for reducing our carbon emissions rapidly. How can Muni grow rapidly to help?
Well, carbon emission is tied to fossil fuels, and we need our fleet to be all on electrification. The same thing as the city, the Office of the Environment is pushing to electrify all the new construction. It's a requirement. It's written now in the building code. So how do we make sure that we can get Muni to be fully on board, to be a full fleet of electric vehicle? That is, I think, is part of the capital plan to improve the operation of the entire fleet of our vehicles. And there's that, and there's also a software upgrade component to it that we need to get Muni to run not in an operating system from the 80s, like where we still use floppy disk. I think right now that's where the operation system is for Muni. So we need to upgrade the brain for the operation, the command control operation. So these are really needed to really, in a massive scale, I believe, to really push that needle to address carbon dioxide emission rate. So again, that also needs money set aside. So I would love to work closely with the financial team to make sure that we have allocated the capital budget for that, so then it will not be delayed.
Thank you, Lydia. I'll follow up on that. We according to the city's climate dashboard, SFMTA and public transportation just more generally only accounts for about, I think, 1% of the city's greenhouse gas emissions. Within the transportation sector, I believe it's closer to 60% comes from private trucks and automobiles. So we know that in order to meet our climate goals and follow the SFMTA climate roadmap, we're going to need to get more people out of their cars and onto public transit. Do you have any ideas for how to encourage that and get more people riding the bus and taking these more eco-friendly modes of transportation?
We need to do better community outreach. We need to have better marketing. We really need to have, we're all going to be, I'm looking at you, Dylan. We're going to be like, yeah, it's cool to get here and ride with us, right? It's really about the perception of safety and also the perception of convenience, right? Efficiency and conveniency. And then of course, safety is already mentioned, that is actually the most high priority. And also it's doing something good for the planet, right? So what I can see is that what we can do is to work together. We're ready to do that paradigm shift. It's everyone's head needs to kind of start to really dial into what you just said, Dylan, that we really need to make that happen, because there's 60% of the climate problem. It's coming from things that we can't control as our fleet. Like I talked about improving the fleet, but then it's only matter 1%, right? Thank you for bringing that into perspective, and we should amplify these message to really have people to really understand what is the magnitude that we're talking about, right? Like when people understand, when MTA said that we have a fiscal cliff in 2025 and it's XYZ amount of billion, but people just kind of like, well, I don't know, everything looks so like that sounds really, is it really big or is it small? But when you say, well, that equates to cutting 22 Muni lines, that's when people start go, wow, we really understand the order of magnitude here, because the sense of scale of comparison really become really touched, personally touched, relatable. So we need to make a relatable message. We also definitely need to make sure that performance really do achieve internally as an agency, but the messaging and the perceptions, we need to do more and better. And we cannot do that in silo. We have to work with you and actually help you. I hope you can help us to really have people to really engage them in a many different ways. Like Janelle was asking, how do you engage a more of like a culturally appropriately engage various community? It's not one size fits all. And then even for Asian, we're not a monolith, how do you engage? So it is a pretty complex process, and it takes a lot of visionaries and passionate people to really just roll up our sleeves and then do it. So I look forward to doing that, because it's really, if there is more of us talking about it, the paradigm would shift. And if we just talk about it as if just like only a few of us sharing these ideas, then it really is, it's becoming kind of like just some really nice topic to talk about on the Friday, happy hour like we are right now. And so we need to, I would love to work with you guys to blast it out, to keep increasing the awareness. It's not just by one time doing, we just have to continue to cultivate a lot more followers to listen to us and understand why, right?
Great. Yeah, thank you for that, and for that response. And I think part of what we do at SFTR, and I know SF Bike WalkSF also is really try to promote the joy and the benefits of taking these alternate modes of transportation. So I think that is certainly something that we're in line with. I wanted to now shift into some more audience questions. And once again, if anybody has joined late, DM Cyrus Hall in the chat. He's going to be elevating the questions for us. It looks like we do have time to take a few more questions. So if there's anything that you'd like to ask Lydia, please message Cyrus and we will elevate that. I'll ask one question here, and then Janelle, you can take over for a couple more audience questions. But first, I wanted to ask, this is a question from Luke Bornheimer. If appointed, would you support removing large amounts of on-street parking in order to create a connected network of protected bike lanes?
Okay, thank you for the questions. I really need to look at so again, for me, it's like these words about large amount, I need to look at the numbers. I need to look at the entire proposal to really have my decision made. I need to be fully informed to make these decisions, because every time we change something, I always talk to as many people as I can get hold of to wait in for what are the trade-offs, because I am really aware of that. Like, there's never going to be perfectly purely white or purely black. We're always going to be in the gray area to make compromises. And so I don't really know what that large amount really means for the numbers. Our city had 280,000 parking spaces. So I would love to actually look at these proposal and plans in more greater detail, and also understanding that community and that neighborhood before I can make my determinations.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, give me 1 second. There's a weird icon that popped up in the middle of the screen, so covering both of your faces. So, okay, the next question comes from Will Bondurant. So this will give you, one of my frustrations is how long it takes for initiatives, projects, or streetscapes changes you're discussing to take to happen. You talk a lot about community engagement, but I wonder if you have ideas for how we can make faster decisions and enable faster work from the SFMTA, especially where it is about safety, the climate, or even equity-focused improvements.
Right. Thank you, Will. It is no stranger. Everyone I heard of, even before the mayor put my appointment out, is that things just take so long. And I remember talking to Jody at WalkSF. The work that I remember was we were talking about Vision Zero, and then the Better Market Street had to cut into two projects called Upper Better Market Street and then Lower Better Market Street in order to move faster. And then it dawned on to me while I was talking to Jody, it was like, wow, it finally happened. So the next thing, what finally happens, kind of like maybe the next thing when things happen again, my daughter will be in college, but that will be, well, that's again is putting it back into our relatable time frame and scale and magnitude. And I hear you. That shouldn't really take that long. But being in multi-city agency working process as a commissioner, a former commissioner, and also as a licensed architect, I have to say it's no stranger to tell everyone that how long it would take to get a building permit just for house renovation, right? So for me, it's really about if I can get there. Well, actually now we streamline a lot of those permitting process, but it's still, you have to like really work really hard with planning and building department. So for MTA, I can see that a lot of the time it has to do with when it gets to road safety is not just MTA. There's a lot of weights that are carried by the fire department. It's you heard about this really famous fire truck turn radius. It's always come up in all my project review, including these affordable housing. Like, why can't we add more there? It's oh no, you have to. We can't do that because it's a fire truck zone. So I would look forward to looking at if we can create some more pilot projects. It's a tester beta, and then we can actually get some more real-time feedback, because a lot of time as a designer or an architect or engineer, when you plan something, it's a good practice, right? Like you're still drawing it on a piece of paper. Now it's drawing in CAD. So but you really need some beta testing or a pilot program to kind of get feedback. That could be faster. Then we can see, okay, if this is actually really working, or it's working, but not 100% to what we want to achieve, or, oh no, there are these unintended consequences that we actually don't anticipate. And so we see that faster instead of, I know, Will, I know that there are a lot of things that are kind of just being on this engineering plan. It's been sitting there for a long time, and I would love to kind of give my little bit of a nudge of just like, if we can, well, I need to know exactly what I would continue to learn better of, like, what are these what do you call those, those what's that one? I have this picture memory of like the CEQA review, when this go here, and if it doesn't go through, then you go in this line and you go to this one, right? So I would like to see that flow chart, right? That's those flow chart, and if we can streamline them, just like how we streamline the planning department review process, and that doesn't, if we have to leverage some other state level help to do that, I'm no stranger in that capacity. But yeah, I really do not want to see just, oh, I will see that when my daughter goes to college. So yes, I hear you. I know I'm really I feel for you. It's in the top of my head.
Well, that's actually good to hear that. I think you referenced quick builds, which is the hope is that we continue to put quick builds as a priority in a place where we can test new designs with the priority of safety in mind. So that's certainly our organization's goal, and with the MTA is to try and get as many of those out and approved as permanent projects with all the best analysis and survey that goes with a pilot to make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do. Okay, great. So I have, I'll do the next question here. This is from, I hope Evie Posamatier, which I believe you're on the call as well. Fare-free muni would get folks out of their cars. Shouldn't we be looking at fare-free to speed up mode shift? That's the second part is the question.
Well, I think a lot of what we need to do is that there are a lot of people already qualify for free fare or really heavily subsidized fare. That's what to my answer to one of the earlier question is that I would love to see these study on what our current situation is in terms of ridership and paying the fare. And I think you're right. Everyone loves free stuff. So does it really going to, well, we want to make sure, I'm still a candidate, so I'm not really getting the access to see all these inner workings of the organization. But I do know that if we can come up with our recovery strategies and also continue to elevate our transit-oriented goal, the vision, our strategy needs to make sure that it achieves our revenue generations. If we don't have this fiscal cliff, I think my answer will be more like a no-brainer to you right now. But right now, I'm just really caution of just like creatively looking at revenue streams to bridge our gap of our fiscal cliff. I would like to look at, is there other incentives that we can amplify or create right now to also achieve, to get people to be more encouraged to ride Muni. Let's say if we have the fleet that is more efficient and has better accountability, and that people feel that they're safe riding on these Muni lines, that is also another way to encourage more ridership. So I would love to leave it like that, because I just really need to see what are these impact that what we're doing. But I agree with you though, like everyone loves free things. So that's what people love. Christmas shopping, there's all these like free gifts.
Yeah, not put a plug just because my children take advantage of the free Muni program for kids. And it's a wonderful way to get the next generation using and thinking about and prioritizing the use of taking Muni to meet their friends. The very scenario you were talking about earlier, both my kids do that if it's feasible as often as possible. So I would encourage that. That's a wonderful program. It's I think a lot of high schoolers and middle schoolers do utilize it. And I think it's been a wonderful thing that should continue if at all possible.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Dylan.
Yeah. My daughter loved it too.
Yeah. And, affordability of fares is something that's really important for us as well. So, and I think there's a lot of kind of examples from elsewhere that of how that could be a good thing. So I'm glad to hear that you're open to considering that.
Yeah.
This next question comes from Leanne Chang from WalkSF. What is your approach toward using and balancing community feedback when making decisions, whether that is from advocates, nonprofits, neighborhood groups, businesses, or other constituents? It would be helpful if you could draw on your experiences on the Arts Commission and Historic Planning Commission.
Okay. So thank you, Leanne. I know that you're traveling, so thank you for it's really engaging, and I love my conversation with Leanne, and we get really connected. For me, my background experience being in the Arts Commission and also on the Historic Preservation Commissions, there were a few projects that came my way was highly, I wouldn't say the word controversial, but was really impacted really to a lot of people's heart and hold dear to. And so my approach is not going to be just, I'm going to let it funnel through one organization or one particular community advocacy group. Of course, they are a really good way to start, to really work together to get the feedback loop and blast it out to a bigger audience. But I also go there and see it myself. Like I will visit, well, back then I was visiting buildings and playgrounds and some of those PUC pump stations. So it was really fun stuff. Then you really actually see what am I evaluating, right? And then the moment you go out and see these things, then you start to meet the people who are actually there, then you start to talking to them. And my approach is like very organic. I wanted to, my background of training, working in this really top 5, I forgot what anyway, these like really big company, and you just need to, you're able to fly really high and look at things in macro scale, but then you are instantly require you to jump back down into looking at the grassroots, like as a human being and as this individual, as this family, how is this thing's going to impact them? Because at the end of the day, that's where the rubber hits the road. They are the one that are going to be the first one feeling it and impacting it. So to make sure that I looked at case that had been done before or similar case. In that case, I'm referring to CEQA cases, Coastal Environmental Act, California Environmental Act, because that's where all the land use entitlement is based on, right? You need to get through this. So and then in my Historic Preservation Commission, we always look at, I would go back and look at the Secretaries of Interiors of Standard, which is the federal guideline for historic preservation, and look at in similar cases how other historical case had been ruled, like, and then what was the result of that. Though I will do my homework and then look at as many reference point as possible before I come up with my own informed decisions. I will also, I have a really good style of get to know people, and I looked at all our city staff. There are certain, I really believe that there's a certain personality that makes you to want to be a civil servant. And they are there for, they all truly believe there's a responsibility for public stewardship. And I really highly respect them. And I had a really good track record that I work really well with all of them, and not just the department head, but every small junior staff. Like, and I see them as equally, but if not more talented, because fresh mind, fresh brain, fresh trend, and it's illuminating. So I will look forward to be able to cultivate as many friendship and also trust to be able to work collaboratively and make some more appropriate, informed decisions for our city.
Thank you, and particularly interesting to hear how you've done that in the past. I think that's helpful context. We have time for maybe 1 or maybe 2 questions if we're quick. So I wanted to just ask, and then Janelle will step in and kind of close us out. But this next question here comes from Cyrus. Cyrus is doing some of the behind the scenes work and is also a volunteer at San Francisco Transit Riders. Cyrus's question: What are the largest problems in how Muni connects to other transit agencies in the Bay Area? And what are the most important changes that Muni can make to improve the experience of riders who leave or come to the city on a regular basis?
Okay, first, thank you, Cyrus, for whipping your magic to make sure that this Q&A session runs so smoothly. And thank you for the hard work that you all put together. And to answer this question is going to be very interesting because we need to work better with BARD. I believe I understand the question is like, how can we improve how can Muni improve to bring regional transportation coming into the city, right? Okay, so BARD is also in its own fiscal situation, which is really sad as well. So we shall be working closer with BARD to create a much more efficient transfer for, let's say, when you get to the city. Well, depending on where you want to go, you can be in the Millbrae line and you can hop on there around Millbrae and then get to the city, or you are getting on to. You're talking about people coming into the city, I would assume, not going out from the city. So going in, it will be working together with BART to really there's so many, they're multi-regional, or they straddle so many counties, and then their transit situation is a lot more car dependent than us. So it's really is looking at if there is a way for them to alleviate the shifting from car to get on BART and then get to Muni. So that is the kind of connection of basically the choice of transit. Like I mentioned earlier, it's to give people more than just one choice. That's to get here. So I hope that the Muni connection to BART in these key stops, if we can increase better efficiency to anticipate this flow of, the flow of ridership. Well, now it's like these data is a little bit harder to presume compared to pre-pandemic, but we will continue to get back to that. But this is not the time to relax. I think this is actually a time where we can actually start looking into what we will anticipate, and we can implement something like maybe some more pilot projects, like an earlier speaker, I think this gentleman's name, Will, right? He was bringing that up. Maybe we can do something to talk with more in conversation with the BARD. I would see that coming from East Bay and then also from the South that will be affected, or that we can do that transfer better, that relationship.
Yeah, for sure. I know something that has long kind of irritated some of our members is, you get off BART and then you go up that escalator and you're just kind of peering through the bars at the Muni trains, and would love to see some more integration between the different transit agencies.
Yeah, I agree. The connectivity, the connections could be so much better.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, with that, I think we're getting up on time. Janelle, if you want to take over and kind of close us out, I think it's time for that.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Lydia. We all appreciate your time this evening. I know Friday nights can be, the end of the week is tiring. So we appreciate you having such being prepared and thoughtful answers to some actually very challenging questions from our members in our organization. So thank you so much. And I also want to thank all of the organization's members who are participating this evening and providing your questions. This is wonderful. Just want to make sure everyone remembers that, your membership dues to our organization, all of the organizations help support doing things like this, where we can interact with potential city officials in their capacity. And the hope is that that all works out for you, Lydia, that we can have these kind of conversations and talk about our work and what makes our city better. So we thank all of our members for their continued support. So with that, Lydia, we want to say thank you and good night, and everybody else. Thank you so much for spending your Friday nights with us here. And if anybody has any follow-up questions, I know from my perspective, I will offer this, is that please feel free to reach out. My email is obviously on our organization's website. So if you have any questions at all, I am happy to answer as well. So with that, thank you guys so much and have a good evening.
Thank you very much and have a good evening and have a great long weekend. I mean, not long, but like warm weekend.
Yeah.
Bye.
Hopefully everyone will get outside. Good night.
Good night.